Well, this is certainly not the first episode back of this show that I wanted to make, but here we are, here we be, and let's just hop into it. So, for those of you who have missed us for, God, 2 years, welcome to the RuthlessST radio podcast. My name is Nick Burnow, driver of the RuthlessST Ford Focus. And with me, I have a new co host. Everybody say hello to Alisha Henson.
Hey guys, how you doing?
There we go. All right. Now that we got that out of the way, and there's no sponsor spot to do because I'm too not well known enough for that yet, again. So, as most everybody in here knows, there have been some recent events lately that have brought into question various meat spots, meat organizations, and it spilled outside of the car scene to some things that weren't really, in my opinion, good. And for those of you who have been living under a rock, we're talking about all of the antics with the takeover people again. I know. We talked about this 3 years ago. We're talking about it again. Well, so this is not the first episode we wanted to make, not by a long shot, but I figured, well, we're getting back into the show. It's about as good a time as any. And so, without further ado, we're going to bring in our guests. So, first is Dalton Hughes, sort of a member at large in the community. More recently, got a little bit of a promotion with Nick Robinson over at NR Nights. He is now a bit of a co host. And then also with us tonight, we have Kaleb Williams, who is a staff member at multiple meets, also kind of a member at large, both kind of mentally and figuratively and physically. If you've ever seen him and met him in person, let's just put it this way: he's about two of me, and I don't want to piss him off. So, fellas, why don't you say hello to well, whoever the hell is going to listen to this later?
What's
Hey,
up?
what's going on, guys?
All right. So now that we got those introductions out of the way, so we like I said, kind of in the open there. You know, we have yet again been affected by the takeover antics of some certain people. For those of you who have been living under a rock, I know this has been, I don't know, almost a month ago now, I think, when No Limits had their pre-meet. That got shut down, and they lost the meet spot. Now, I can say that we have been in contact with several different people and organizations to, kind of rectify that and get a new meet spot. But that hurt. I know that hurt a lot of people, including me. I know it's the repercussions. I know they've kind of disappeared, but I'm sure they'll come back. Um, but guys, to kind of open this up, um, in your opinion, how do those takeover antics, is what we'll call them, affect the various meets that you run or go to? Because I know we all go to multiple. I mean, I know I do when I get the chance. And like I said, you know, Alicia and I are staff at least two different organizations. Um, but that's not the capacity that her and I are in tonight. So I don't know, whichever one of you guys wants to start. I'll let you guys have the floor, and we'll just kind of do a round robin, and we'll get started here.
Go ahead, Caleb.
Um, so I feel like the main thing, right, is everyone's safety. Put safety at risk. Children, us, the elders, you know, wants to bring their old school cars out, puts everyone at risk. And you never know what's going to happen with those. So big thing with that, safety.
Well, and to add on to that point, Caleb, there was a guy, and Dalton, you were there. You watched me do it. There was a guy that was doing wheelies at the
Wheelies around
last,
the NR.
around the last NR meet, and what did I do? I hopped in the Focus, and I went to confront him, and I confronted him, told him to stop, and then he still did it anyways. So yes, safety is the big one, and with the recent, I want to say they've subsided, but with the recent, um, we'll call them actions that have bled kind of outside of these meets. Safety for a lot of us is one of my biggest concerns. I don't want to go sit in a parking lot and have to worry about getting run over, or get the shit beat out of me, or what have you. Now, and I'm saying this from experience, I don't think anybody's going to be that stupid. But as we've seen, people can be that stupid.
Well, to be honest with you, I feel like safety is a big concern, but the other thing is like people. I get people are wanting to have fun. You're
Right.
forming like at the no limits meet, people were forming a line, and that's when the people started doing burnouts and trying to show
Yep.
off.
Yep.
And I don't think it was anybody that had to do with any of the takeover groups or anything like that. I think it was just random people that just wanted to be dumb and show off, however way they want to, whether it's a burnout, whether it's a wheelie at an army, it don't matter. They just want to be stupid.
Right.
And the thing is there's a time and place for that, not at our park and chill meets where we have rules that you have to respect. Otherwise, you're going to get it shut down for everybody and everybody's going to pin it on you.
Well, and too, now that we've kind of breached into that topic, right? How do we as staff, like I know most of our meets, at least all the ones that I have been to in recent memory, right? They've all been in basically public parking lots. So how do we as staff, you know, how do we go about enforcing the rules without essentially us getting laughed at? That's kind of the big one. And I think that's because I know we've been talking about it over these past couple weeks, and I know
I mean,
that. Go ahead.
to be honest with you, I haven't been to any Cars and Coffees this year. I've worked every one. I do work every one, but I've heard stuff going on at Cars and Coffee as well, and they can't even stop that. Even though they have the cops and stuff posted, people are
Right.
still doing stuff, and they're going to end up getting Cars and Coffee shut down again. And that's going to, they moved from the Green to Austin Landing years
Right.
ago,
Yep.
and they've had Austin Landing secure. But the thing is it's going to end up being little pop-up meets instead of these big shows. We're not going to be able to have the big shows anymore. That's
Right.
what it's going to turn into. And I have a strong feeling that even if we try to crack down on rules and stuff, they're still going to go about doing that. It's still going to end up happening regardless. I feel like there's not a way to stop it.
Yeah, and that's kind of Alicia. I really want to hear some of your opinions on some of this stuff we've been talking about, but that's kind of the great conundrum that we have anymore.
Well, I also feel like if we tell people to just calm down and just slow the roll a little bit, a lot of people challenge authority. So they feel like if, oh, well, he told me to go ahead and calm down, I'm just going to go ahead and do the opposite.
Right.
A lot of people have that mentality nowadays. Not everybody, not pointing the finger towards everybody, but a lot of people do have that mentality nowadays.
Yep. Yep. And
And
and the exact example that I gave, you know, I I don't just fucking hop in the Focus and drive across a parking lot to make a point.
yeah,
Like
same.
if I'm trying to cut you off to talk to you, there's a really good reason I'm doing that.
Yeah.
And
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 I always,
go ahead.
uh, What I was going to say is I also agree with the safety topic as well, because this is also coming from a parent. Um, my daughter is getting to the age where she is able to go out and enjoy these stuff, and I do plan on taking her out to. I was going to take her out to the No Limit meets this year, and I still want to, but I want to make sure that she's safe and that I'm safe, because I don't want anything to happen to like my 9, 10-year-old daughter, and same with other people and their kids, because you have people going around here with their babies and strollers or on their hips and everything, and then you have people who want to show off and they're going to ruin it for everybody. And I don't think they honestly really think about that. I just think that they have that spotlight on them and they think they look cool, but they don't really think of the repercussions and the actions of it.
Right. Right. And I think that's I want to say that's a car scene thing, but it's not. It's more of a, at least in recent years, right? It's a bit more of a society problem. And
Yeah, I mean
there's
that's
no
more
way we can
sustainable.
fix that.
Yeah.
As the old saying goes, you can't fix stupid.
Well, and I'm not trying to get like too far off topic with this, but I did want to let like pretty much everybody know. So, the KB Octane viral meets are no more. Viral actually closed their doors.
What?
Oh,
That's
viral.
yeah, that's news to me.
Viral is viral went bankrupt. They closed their doors. This just happened last week.
Oh, wow. It wasn't that long ago. I just saw Austin.
Yeah,
The
same.
meet was last weekend and it just shut its doors like just the other day. Few people
Wow.
of mine found out, and so KB Viral is no longer. KB Pinball Garage will remain down in Hamilton, but the viral is shut down.
Wow.
So I
Well,
didn't want
thanks.
to get
That's
off topic
nuts.
with that, but I just wanted
No,
to warn
that's
everybody about
breaking news. That's breaking news.
yeah,
Breaking
Yeah, that
yeah,
is
news live to tape.
that
yeah.
is breaking
Wow.
news.
Wow. And I thought that place was doing good too. Wow.
Well, everybody kind of did. Austin was on vacation that I know of, and he came back, and pretty much they shut their doors and they were turning people away. And yeah, so
Wow. That's big. That's off topic, but that's off topic, but it's not
it's
because there goes another meet, another
yep,
venue.
yep.
But I mean that's kind of not from a car scene perspective, right? To bring it back, those kinds of things are not anything we can control.
Yeah, that's not something we can control. Hopefully, we can find another spot. I mean, there's plenty of spots. The problem is that how collective are the see how collective are the businesses, but the thing is like sometimes people don't realize like car shows are fun and everything, but I think some of us need to take it back to like the old days, take it back to the early 2000s where you find a decent spot and you and whoever you're friends with all show up and just
Yep.
host a night meet or
Yep.
stuff like that. And even if there's I'm gonna bring up Castle, but even if it's like Castle, you know what I mean? But take it back to like early 2000s where you used to do that all the time.
Yep.
That
Yep.
would be worth it. I'd be out at every one.
I'd be, the weekends where I'm free, I'd be right there with you. I'd be out at a lot of them. But and I hate to say it, but the car scene, those meets are good, yes, and they're the backbone of our community. I mean, that's what our whole community was based on. But the thing is, right? Like, for example, at the No Limits meets, right? You've got No Limit selling merch. You've got Karma selling merch. I love Chase to death, but you've got Karma selling merch. These meets have turned into more than a meet,
It's turned into business.
right? And I think, and this is no offense to anybody, and this is my personal opinion. This is no offense to anyone. I think once a meet has turned into a business, I think it has gotten away from, and Kaleb, you are more than welcome to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think once a meet has turned into a business, as a lot of these sort of bigger ones have, I think you've kind of lost the point of what makes a car meet a car meet.
Yeah, I mean, you think car meet, you don't really think businesses, you know.
Right.
So
No, you think of night meets, you think of pulling up with your buddies and showing off
Yeah.
your cars and talking about who's the most horsepower, and you run it from a dig or you run it, rolling
You
races.
you go
You
out to
do
Mexico and
whatever
you
all
run
day
that
long.
shit, right?
Yeah, you
And
go
then you come
you go
back to the parking lot and you brag about, "Oh, I just stomped his ass."
yeah.
yeah,
Like come
It doesn't even
on.
have to be for money or anything. It can just be for fun. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be for paying for money. There doesn't have to be any drama involved, nothing. Like it
Exactly.
can just be, just good old fun.
Exactly. And I think and this is, what drew me to the car scene, right? I'm 10 by the time I found Fast and Furious. For those of you that know, I am 30. I was born in 94, so I was about 5 when the first Fast and Furious came out, and I didn't understand it at the time. It took me a couple years. But, like, when Too Fast, Too Furious came out, like, and I still watch that movie to this day, one of the best scenes in that movie is the very first one. Like, when everybody's just meeting up, gathering, carrying on. That's part of the reason I'm going to Gatlinburg this year is because for Slammed Enough, I just want to go for the vibes. I don't even care about the show.
I wanted to go to cruise the mountains with the homies. That's all I care about.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
wasn't even going to pay to go into the show. Like I was just going to go to the Smoky Mountains. I'll enjoy everything else in Pigeon Forge and Gat while I'm down there, but I
Yep.
wanted to just go cruise the mountains in the Subi. That'd be the best thing for me.
Well, and you know what, Dalton? I was just there. Literally, I was just there. I just came back day before yesterday, and
Mhm.
we took my girlfriend's car. We didn't even take the Tesla, and I regret it
I bet you
because
regretted it.
well, so I regret it and I don't because we came back with way too much liquor. But
True. I mean, yeah,
but
you go to Old Smoky, you be hitting up all of them.
we hit up the wine trail and we did everything and we went with another couple and it was great. But I've been down there twice now. And as you are very well aware, every road other than Parkway is twisty as hell. And it's
Oh
perfect.
yeah.
And it's
And when you think,
go ahead.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
When you think of meats, like you think, so I really hate quoting Fast and Furious because everybody does. But
Right?
when you
It's
think
so
of meats,
cliche.
like you think of going and doing all that, and then running from the cops, hiding from the cops, whatever the case. Like not saying like it's severe in trouble, but I'm just saying in general. And then you go
Yep.
back to a buddy's house. You guys have a fire, you have a few drinks, you cook, whatever the case, and you have a little get together. It's just
Mhm.
about making friends and being there as a community, making friends and family over the years.
Yep. And I have known Chase pretty much. I found Chase through Karma Culture because I mean that's his brand. That's what he does, right? So, and I met him through Colin actually, and him and I have been pretty good friends for the last couple of years because I like what he does. Like he's doing the Karma Camp out coming up in June, right? Small get together. Uh, we get together. We're actually doing a show from the camp out, so be on the lookout for that. No offense, I had to drop that in there, but it's stuff like that, like the small events where you just go, you have fun, and you look over and you see a badass line of cars sitting there. You know, and you are all there for that reason, and it's just an awesome time.
It's just the people you meet along the way, the friends, the
Yeah.
family,
Yep.
everything that you make along the way. Even when you get into your 60s and 70s and 80s, and your cars that you drove and had fun with are now classics, and you're still building them because of the
Mm-hmm.
fact being that's what you want to do, and you still have brothers from back when you drove with them when you were 20.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
For
Yeah,
sure.
I agree honestly because Dalton, I'm going to throw this out there. Where Dalton and I used to go to when we were growing up, we used to go to this place called the Attic, and it was a
I've been there.
church. I love that place. But it was a church, but it was also a place where heavy metal bands used to come and play.
I was gonna say,
That's where Dalton and
I never got a chance to go to a show at the Attic, but I know a
It
lot of
was
people. I know a lot of
amazing.
people that have played there.
dude, it was
Alicia
awesome.
created our own wall of death with a bunch of people during
Oh,
it was a smaller band, and
uh-huh.
they pretty much we created a wall of death and everything, and it was, yeah, I mean, me and her met back then, and I mean, we're still friends for sure.
Right.
And it's just what happens over the years. You end
Mm-hmm.
up meeting people, and some people stick with you.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you do stuff with other people, and you make lifelong friendship, and that's how car meets are. Like I've met some really really great people coming back because I took a huge break. I took about a 2.5 year break, and I came back fully last year. I have met some amazing people this year. Kaleb, you're one of them. Nick, you're one of them, and a plethora of other people as well. There have been some amazing souls that I have met.
Yep. Yep. And you know what? When it comes down to it, and I know we've veered so far off topic, and I'm gonna have to come up with a new title for this show probably. But when it comes down to it, I think that's where the car scene maybe is different than some other stuff. Because
Oh, and that's the other thing. We get off topic because we're all four friends.
well, for sure. I mean, what makes so for me, right? Not to go off on yet another tangent, but for me, what always makes these shows worth doing, it's not the crappy analytics I get, which you know, okay, whatever, but it's the and I don't know, Dalton, if you've listened over the years, but at least in my opinion, I've had some pretty good conversations with people on this show. Like,
Right.
I've talked to the I mean basically the greatest hits of the Dayton car community, except
Well,
DCC.
yeah, I know. I remember. I
Yeah.
remember each episode you had different people in the past, and you had a
Hmm.
different person. Like you had Clay, you've had Devin, you've had, you know,
I've had
the
Devin
list goes on.
multiple times.
No, I'm just saying the list goes on. Which
Yeah.
Devin is supposedly making a comeback, from what I've been
I
hearing.
I know. I've been hearing that too, and good old Yeehaws and his 3 bars. The next time I see him, I am going to give him a lot of shit and
Oh, I
make
plan
him
on
come
love Devin.
do what?
I said I plan on giving Devin crap. I love Devin.
Oh, Devin is great. He is probably he is probably one of the best guys in the Dayton car scene. Period. Um,
We need to bring we need to bring back old school meets. We need to bring back
yeah,
pop-ups that roll 60 cars deep, and you just do roll races and big races. I'm not saying like everywhere, but I'm saying like, you get a good spot and you can do that.
right. And I guess the problem is, finding that good spot.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Where is that good spot? Because
Well,
it.
the bad part is like, you use a business. Okay, so what? You get kicked out of a lot. Okay, you make a group chat with some friends. You go to the next spot. Those friends can then share to their friends, and
Yep.
the list goes on. It goes down the line. You move spots. You don't do dumb shit and then move spots. You park and chill. You hang out, whatever. If we get kicked out, you move spots.
Right. And I think going back to kind of circling back, right? I I don't know how closely any of you guys have followed this over the years, but since our last show, since our last State of the Scene, what was that? May of 22 ish, I think, if I remember correctly. Um, Montgomery County in the state of Ohio have enacted some laws and told their cops to kind of crack down on that sort of thing. And don't get me wrong, I am very glad that happened. That's honestly probably one of the best things that could have happened. Um, However, that makes our job a little more difficult, doesn't it?
A little bit.
100%.
I mean, because it used to be. I mean, Devin or well, Dalton, sorry. You and I have been to a lot of those meets where it's, it used to be a pop up in a parking lot and say, hey, show up at this time at this date. We still do that, in Springfield, that still happens. However,
Everywhere else, it's pretty much not happening anymore. I mean, sometimes it does, but it's days in advance. What happened to the 3 hours ahead of time,
right,
and you get 10 cars and then 60 more roll in?
right. I mean, those were the, and I hate to compare Hobart to this, right? But Hobart was kind of this theory, right? You'd say, okay, show up at Hobart Arena at this time, don't do stupid shit, and whoever showed up, showed up. I remember the first time I went to one of those meets, the first time I met you. You remember that? I was doing a 2-day autocross event at the time, and I was in Springfield, and I still had the number plates on the car. And this was before it was at Hobart. This was still at, what was it? The Walmart in Troy back in the day? Well, anyways, well, some of the people in Springfield don't really like me because I won't go to Mexico and race. I still won't do that. I don't need to. I don't. In this day and age, especially, I don't need to. You want to come beat me? We'll go to an autocross event, and I'll still probably kick your ass because I can drive better. Like that's how I prefer to show my mettle. But now, so that was back then. And what happened that night was I was going to go to Troy anyways because I heard, there was a meet going on from a friend of mine. Funny how that works. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to just go see what's going on. Screw it. Screw it. So I hopped in the car. And this is kind of why I don't go to very many meets in Springfield anymore, unless I know who's hosting them. So I get in my car, and dudes that have been taunting me all night walk up to the side of my car. And for those of you who don't know the anatomy of a Ford Focus, the side windows are very large and very expansive. And I had them all rolled down, and I had the roof open because it was a beautiful night that night. Well, and for those of you who don't know, I do have a 4-point harness in the car. I still have it in the car. It is the seatbelt I use every time I get in the car. I don't use the factory 3-point seatbelt unless someone is sitting behind me. Then I have to. I don't have a choice. So I get in the car. I'm belting myself in, and I start the car. And dude walks up to the window and was like, he was taunting me, whatever, reaching in, honking the horn, whatever. If I had, the right mind that I do now, I would have taken his arm up through the sunroof, grabbed it, held on for dear life, and taken off, and drug him along the side of the car. I didn't do that. I just drove off, and as I drove off, Dalton, I think you remember this vividly because I remember you being there, oddly enough. I had Sprite thrown all down the side of my car. Some dude took their big some dude took their big Speedway cup full of Sprite and dumped it all down the side of the car. And I still had the magnets on the car. Those were coated. My whole B pillar and inside my B pillar was coated. The Recaro seat was coated. And that was real fun to clean off. But anyways, so that was kind of my introduction to the overall Troy car scene. And that's, where I made, that's where I made friends with Dalton. And then Dalton introduced me to a bunch of people. And, well, here we sit. Funny how that works.
Well, I was gonna say, I've made many, many, many friends over the years, just maybe between Troy, going to Dayton, going to Miamisburg, going to
Oh, dude.
Springdale, bringing back the good old Good Enough Garage. I
Oh,
miss that
dude.
so much. Going
Oh.
down there, going to all these meets, like just sit back and think about how many people you've met over the years just from the car seat alone, just by
Oh,
working on your car, having those friends over, y'all working on it together. It doesn't matter. Just think about the friends and the family that you've made. Like, it is worthwhile, and those are lifetime brothers, sisters, however, nieces, nephews. It doesn't matter, right?
mm-hmm.
I would much rather be cruising the streets at midnight to 2 a.m. with my friends than at a bar. I
Oh,
would
for
much
sure.
rather be doing that.
For sure.
I agree.
Agreed. And I think I would assume, because Kaleb hasn't talked in a while, but I would assume he agrees with that statement. I mean, I know I do.
100%.
I mean, God, I remember, what were we doing? We were going somewhere. We were in Dayton, and it was one of the first times I had ever been on 35 at god awful, whatever the hell time it was at night. It was like 10 or 11 o'clock at night on like a Saturday night. And I can't remember why. I can't remember what meet it was, but I know I met up with you there, Dalton, and we were changing locations, and it might have been one of the early Dayton takeovers.
It
Like the
was. That was the early takeover.
like the
That was
early
early, early.
early ones before they started turning out super stupid.
Yeah, they still, I mean, the way that they run now is kind of similar to how it ran in the beginning,
Yeah.
is that they would have one spot, they'd go to the next, etc. Not giving away too much information with that, but they run like they did in the beginning, and they I don't know much about it anymore because I got out of it. I grew out of it.
Oh, I
It's
think
not
we
something.
all did.
Yeah, it's not something I enjoy. A lot of people do, but I'll tell you that back in the day, it did used to be fun at one point
Yep.
when you just wanted to hang back and watch people swing their car and do whatever. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And now, there is a time and place for that. I mean, tracks
Yeah,
exist
a
for a
car meet
reason.
is not one of them.
Right. Take that shit to the track. Go to Killcare on a Thursday night where when they have the drift track set up, and swing your shit if you want to swing your shit.
Great people
Don't.
just don't want to pay for it.
Oh, I agree. I agree. But don't, because here, swinging back to the pun, but swinging back to the topic or the thing I had said a little earlier. The reason that Ohio, and more specifically Montgomery County, because that's the area of, you know, meets we're talking about, Dayton, Miamisburg, mainly Montgomery County, they have really cracked down because you're in the middle of downtown Dayton. What the hell are you doing in the middle of downtown Dayton and you decide to shut down a busy intersection on a Saturday night in downtown Dayton? In the bar district, mind you, because I know where that one was. Uh, why the hell do you feel the need to shut down an intersection at like 11 o'clock at night with all sorts of people around just to swing your shit? What's the reason? Give me a good one and maybe I'll believe you. But, like, come on.
I was gonna say it's not just happening in Montgomery County. It's not happening. It's happening in Cleveland, Cincinnati, Columbus, Dayton, California,
Oh, it's
Arizona.
everywhere.
Yeah, I
It's
was about to.
everywhere, and they're coming back because I mean, you got to think a lot of the stuff got shut down for COVID, and we couldn't even have car meets. And a lot of people are starting to come back out of the cracks because we're getting back to normal after COVID. Like, yeah, prices of everything are high and everything else, and people are worried about money and everything. But other than that, I mean, everything other than that is normal. Like,
Right?
we're not wearing masks anymore. We're not standing 6 feet apart. We're not being hygienist freaks. We're
Right?
literally back to the way things were. And the people coming out of the cracks and concerts becoming back to normal and everything else, yeah, of course people are going to start coming back, and the things that happened in the past are going to resurface.
Right? And I think. And I think there's a way to channel that. I do. But there's got to be a way to channel it in a way that makes sense. I guess, for lack of a better phrase. It has to make sense for, let's say, the community at large, you know? And I think as I'm going to put my big picture guy hat back on here. Uh, what makes sense? How can we make that happen for the community in a safe manner that doesn't jeopardize the the things that have been built? I guess would be my.
You do something stupid, we record your plate, we report you to the police, you come back, you're permanently banned, you will be escorted off our lot, and we enforce it 100%. We don't sit there and let them just show back up and give them a second chance. No, you ruined it, and even if you ruined it for the group, you still ruined it, so you're not going to be allowed back.
Well, and I get that, and I get that for normal meets, but what if, again, big picture hat on here, right? What if for, I don't know, maybe one or two events a year, say at the beginning and end of the season, right? Everybody loves their big season opener, everybody loves their big season closer, right? What
Yeah.
if, what if, just what if scenario here, right? There was an event at Killcare a number of years ago, and I can't remember what it was called. I can't remember for the life of me. But it was like it was kind of like IA, and it was a touring thing, and it was this big event that everybody went to, and there was drifting, and there was a general car meet, and I even think they had people on the strip too. I can't remember for the life of me what it was called. But I'll liken it to say it was IA before I knew what IA was.
I couldn't tell you because I didn't remember anything that happened at Conquer that big.
Well, and it was a while ago. It was, oh God, what, I can't remember, but that was like peak for me. That was peak event at Killcare because not even an autocross can do it like they did. But my point is this: what if all of the local organizations got together for their season opener and their season closer and rented out Killcare and said, okay, you want to go down the strip? Go down the strip. You want to you want to swing your shit? Go to the oval track and swing your shit. Big picture, granted, cost, right? But again, as we've established, a lot of these car meets are businesses now. So
Okay,
what's
I'll
go
ahead.
for it? Go for it.
Okay. So with that being said, right,
Yeah,
you gotta think, excuse me, security of our groups, no limits, NRKB,
right.
several other ones that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, People look at us as security of these groups as just normal, regular car enthusiasts that have no power,
Right.
right?
I think that's
So
agreed
if
upon across the board. Yes.
if we were to all come together as car enthusiast groups, and try to rent out Killcare, we would need heavy security. Because yeah, we can have security for all these groups be there. But once again, they're gonna be like, you're just a normal person here trying to tell me what to do. Basically, F off. I'm doing what I want.
Well, and I think, and I could be completely wrong, but to respond to your point, I think at an event like that, where it's at and again, to your point, I could be completely off base, right? I could be completely wrong here, but to your point, I think there's a difference when an event staff, right, hosts a meet like now. Here's a perfect example, right? Uh, Nick and I at the last NR meet, we were visited by, and Dalton, you're aware of this because I think you were either standing in pretty close proximity or you were. I don't think you were right there with us, but you get my point. We were visited by I want to say he's the assistant general manager of the Cabela's.
Correct.
Yeah,
Because
I know. I heard all about it.
he came up to me and R's mom actually,
Yep,
and
yep.
spoke with us for a little bit before he made his way down to you guys. So
So he came up to us, and here's a perfect example. NR and I were talking to the AGM. Really nice guy, by the way. Awesome dude. Awesome dude.
yeah, seemed like a great guy.
Yeah, awesome dude. We're standing there having a conversation about the venue, about his parking lot, and things that he's willing to do, and things that he's willing to help us with, etc., etc. As we're doing that, and don't get me wrong, we're kind of in the main drag because we're also trying to, observe, keep an eye out on stuff. I think it's generally known that at most meets, most established meets, and this is maybe something that should change, right? That the showcase row, I say showcase row kind of loosely because it's also, I call it some of it the staff parking row, that the showcase row is generally considered the main drag of these meets, where if people are going to be, that's where they're going to be, which means that's where the showboats are going to be. But anyways, so I digress. So going back to what I was saying, NR and I are standing there talking to the AGM. AGM's being super cool, super gracious, walking up, as we're standing there talking, people are rolling in. And as they're rolling in, some of them are, some people like me, give a little rev. Okay, cool. You're not overdoing it. I ain't got no problem with you. Then some other people, mainly some motorcyclists, decided I'm just going to give it full wrist and hold it. And I don't know, leader bikes, 600s. Like, I've been around bikes a while. My dad rides two of them. Not at the same time, but rides two of them. Leader bikes and 600s can be awfully loud, especially when people essentially put open headers on them. Because that's essentially what most aftermarket exhausts are. They're open headers with no cats. So, not only did he get to see I guess you'd say, the professionalism of us staff, but he also, and it seems we've lost Kaleb. Let me try and get him back. But also, it seems that he was also able to see our, I guess you'd call it, enforcement action.
Yeah, he for sure did because now we are permanent with Cabela's for the season.
At least the season.
Yeah,
Probably as long as he's at that store, to be honest.
yes, as long as he's there, we are permanent with him. We did score that deal, and so we are hoping to keep that in good standing with Cabela's because we do like that spot. It is a nice spot. It's kind of central for everybody, so it does make it a good location for Enler
Right.
to host his meets, and of course collab meets as well. And it brings Cabela's business because everybody that went in there actually did bring Cabela's business.
Right. I mean, to be honest, every time I go to that particular Cabela's, and I go there more often than I'd like to admit because my buddy got me into two somewhat expensive outdoor hobbies, namely kayaking and fishing. Um, every time I go in there, it's kind of dead. So like, and
Well, I
especially since that
evil.
Cabela's is open until what, like 9?
Nine
Yeah,
or
I mean,
ten,
people.
yeah.
They're open till like 8 or 9, so that brings them some end of day business.
Well, and I'm also seeing it at my work too, like because I work with cars, so
Right.
I'm also seeing it at my work. I mean, people are holding their money. Nobody's buying anything
Yeah.
because they don't know what's going to happen in the world.
Right.
Each day is different now, and it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't see that as much because I work in the industry I work in is largely business to business, and as I'm sure you know, businesses love to throw their money around. So I don't see that personally. It's kind of that's a little bit of a disconnect for me, but I get it.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, no, that's just what's going on. At least in the mechanic world, that's what's going on. And I'm not a mechanic. I just, well, you know where I work, but
Yeah, you're the parts
I,
guy.
yeah, I mean, I'm watching everything happen, and I'm watching us lose work, and it's not just us as a whole. It's other. There's other places around where I'm at that are losing business, and it's because we're not staying busy
Right.
because people aren't wanting to spend money. They're fixing what they need to fix to keep driving. That's it.
Yep. Yep. We're in one
Yep.
of.
They're not fixing the minor shit.
I was gonna say
I
Alicia probably sees a lot of that same thing.
I do see a lot of that with dealing with commercial and everything at AutoZone, especially. I don't know if it's just like the area that I'm in because they're also building a new store as well. So
Yeah.
they're going to be taking a lot of business over there. But Dalton's right. A lot of people just don't want to spend money nowadays. They're just fixing the bare minimum
Mm-hmm.
to get
Yeah.
by, and that's it.
Yeah, that's what's going on. And I mean, that's the same thing with modding cars. People aren't wanting to mod cars because everything's getting expensive. I mean, when they start putting the tariffs out and everything that's coming, it's going to get crazy. People are going to get, an extra $250 on, let's say, a downpipe. A downpipe's
Mm-hmm.
already depending between $300 and $800 depending on the car. So
Right.
you add another 200 on it, it's more expensive. People aren't going to buy it, you
Well,
know.
here's a perfect example, right? And Dalton, I told you this 2 years ago. I
Mm.
still have a Cooler Works shifter sitting brand new in the box that I haven't put in the car yet. And it's
Yeah,
like, I'm torn about it every day because it's like, do I put it in the car or do I cash out because now that $700 shifter is worth about $900?
exactly.
And I won it for next to nothing.
Well, and that's like my side exit. Totally in total, it costs like $1,500 to do it.
Right. Right.
And parts are just going up, especially like you look at certain cars are cheaper to mod compared to you've got Lexus and Subaru and BMW and Volkswagen and Audi and all them, like all the actual like the import cars,
Mm-hmm.
they get more and more expensive. The only one that's not so expensive is Honda because their parts are made in the US, some of them,
Correct.
not all of them.
Correct.
So
And
it
it's
just
kind of the same
varies.
thing with the Ford stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, some of it's expensive because you got it in Korea and Thailand and everywhere else, and then
Yep.
some of it's in the U.S. So it just same thing with GM.
Mm-hmm.
It's everywhere. Everybody's dealing with this, and everybody's holding their money. That's why I mean, you don't see a lot of people, a ton of people at meets because they're only going to go to the big ones because they're trying to save gas right now
Right.
because gas is through the roof.
Right. Or
And
you're
meets
stingy
aren't
like I
even
am and live in, the middle of nowhere. So a drive to Dayton for me, a drive to South Dayton for me is about an hour and 15 minutes.
Well, that, and I mean, to be fair, like I'm not trying to dog on anybody here. I'm not trying to say anything bad about anybody. I know everybody's situation is different. But
This,
the
my
thing with
friend, is a
meats is
safe space. You know that.
all of the meats I've been to recently, um, a lot of the cars have no modifications done to them.
Mm-hmm.
They are bone stock with stickers on them.
Yep.
And to be fair, you know, what happened to car meets where people were actually modding cars? What happened to throwing an intake on and throwing on downpipes and making more power and tuning and everything else? It's all going extinct.
Yeah, I know. Oh, God, this was 2 years ago when I tuned the car. When I threw the AP on it, there was only you look on Facebook, you look on everywhere, right? You look for, okay, who's going to tune this car and not blow it up?
Yeah, that's yeah.
And for me, there were 2, 3.
Yeah.
There was Stratified, there was Rebel Devil, who's
Yep.
still in business, still doing great,
Yep.
still known for Ford stuff. And there was like one more that would do specifically what I wanted.
It was
Not,
probably Focus Power.
huh?
Was it Focus Power?
Oh no, oh god, I can't remember. It wasn't Panda. It was one of the other big ones.
I got you.
But
All good. All right.
but point being, and for those that are unaware, my car is tuned for, it's called Street Touring Hatch, which is a very specific autocross class. So I can only do a couple different things. So right now my car is on stock suspension. I put sticky tires on it. It's got a bigger intercooler because it needs it because now it puts out about 23 pounds of boost. Granted, the turbo on my car is tiny. And it has which I need to change. It has a high flow air filter with no airbox cover. I need to get an airbox cover again. But I digress. And those are pretty much the only mods that I can do. I can't go in and change the turbo. I can't go in and add an external waste. Well, I could add a blow off valve, but I can't add an external wastegate. I can't do a lot of those things. So
Well, yours is a reason for that though. You're using it for autocross. I'm just
correct.
saying the kids that are coming into the car scene, like I said, I know don't have a lot of money. They're fresh out of high school
Yep.
or they're still in high school and they're coming
Yep.
into the car scene and
Yep.
they just want to check it out and get to the feel for it. That's all fine and dandy. That's dope. You know, we want that. That's the newest generation of car enthusiasts. We
Right.
love that.
That's
Because
how the
then they're
shit moves
continuing
forward.
our legacy. They're continuing the legacy. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is when you do get the chance to mod it, mod it. Throw some wheels on it. Throw some
Yep.
suspension on it. Throw an exhaust on it. You know, and don't make it a clapped out car. Make it something worthwhile.
Yep. Yep.
What happened to doing Bondo filling? You know, the thing, you got a rust hole in the side of your quarter panel. Bondo fill it, shave it, paint it, sand it. You know,
Do
all
it the
that.
right way.
Do it. You know, make it yours. It's
Yep.
your car.
Yeah. And I think to go on that point, right? You've got guys like, and I haven't watched Hoovy now in God knows how many years because to me his content got stale. But you've got guys like Hoovy and Cletus is another one. Cletus is one that especially comes to mind. Huh?
You got Donut too that does all that. They
And you've got,
modify their stuff.
yep, yep. But a lot of these, so to kind of go into the donut, the hooligan, that whole nonsense. Those all got big, like stupid big.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they got bought out by companies.
Yep.
I guess the bigger question, and I will kind of leave this as food for thought. But the bigger question is not necessarily because the answer to this question, I think, is the answer to our prayers. How do you make the car community smaller? And I say smaller, I mean, how do you bring it back to where it came from? Because
Instead of doing big shows, I mean, you could have big shows,
right,
but
they have their place.
Every weekend there's a big show because I mean, NL is bigger. Then
Right.
you've got No Limits that's big. You've got
Mm-hmm.
you know if Go Fast Life comes back, you've got Go Fast Life that's
Oh
massive.
God, go GFL's gonna need a huge venue to do anything.
You've got Endless, you've got Freedom Scene, you know, you got the Cincinnati car scene, you've got KB in certain aspects, you've got like
Yep.
all these different shows. Almost every weekend there's a different one.
Yep.
How about instead of doing it, do it once a month like Dayton Cars and Coffee does instead of doing it every weekend, and then let the car community throw pop-ups, throw little meets
Yeah.
here and there at random locations instead
Yep.
of everybody throwing one big event that's all the same cars. If you have 10 different pop-ups going on one night, you can merge a couple different pop-ups if you want to.
Yep. And maybe I know we only represent a couple different groups, sitting in this room here. But maybe we take that back to our groups and be like, hey, instead of doing it this way, maybe we should look at doing it this way. Because
Yeah, I mean, either that.
I think that's what will bring back the diversity in the community. Because that's really what we're lacking here.
I agree wholeheartedly. The one thing that makes me question is like, okay, so I don't know, you've got you over in like Springfield area, you've got
Yep.
Kaleb down like South Dayton area, Centerville area, you've got Alisha. I don't know where you're at now, Alisha.
I'm in Miamisburg now. That's where I'm
Okay, so you
located.
got Miamisburg area, and then you got me in the Troy area. So like, we're all pretty much very far apart, except like Alisha and Kaleb, you guys are kind of closer.
Right.
But if let's say Alisha and Kaleb threw a pop-up down there. You've got Miamisburg, Centerville people. Then somebody hosted one in Dayton, like downtown Dayton area, not like right downtown, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
In that area, somebody throw one there. Then you've got somebody throw one up my way. Then you got somebody throwing one out your way. It's these little pop-ups all around all night, and you may catch some people on the fucking highway and make more friends.
Yep.
Instead of everybody having to drive to Dayton all
right.
the time and making Dayton the scene, how about you just host pop-ups?
Right. And I think when you do that, right, and I'll have to, man, there's a couple out here that I think you guys would like, but that's beside the point. I think if we do that, right, like for example, to go back to my story, in 2019, right, I would have never come to Troy if somebody didn't tell me about it.
Cody. Wasn't it Cody?
Yes, it was, actually. It was Cody. And I would not have met half the people I would have met, right? If I didn't take a chance and go to that first meet in Troy.
And we had what, like 20 first?
Yeah, it wasn't anything big. It was just different. It was just different.
Yeah, we sat around and bullshit. That's how it used to be, and that's what needs to come back. Instead of having big shows all the time, you have little pop-ups with your close friends. And who's to say, like, instead of hosting, like, you don't have to host them on a fucking schedule.
Mm-hmm.
You can host them just random fucking Tuesday. Just post, hey, having a pop-up at such and such location. Boom, post it. See how many people show up. You may have 15, 20, 30, 40 cars deep, and you guys may have the time of your damn life.
Yep.
And then another random one, instead of doing it on a regular schedule, do it random as hell. It'll start getting people, it'll make smaller groups, and it'll get people spread out more instead of everybody meeting at the same spots.
Yep. And I think that's part of it because they know where to look.
Yeah.
So, wow. That was
good. Bring back some good culture.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, to add on to that, right?
Go for it.
These little pop-ups, as Dalton stated, one big meet a month, like Dayton Cart and Coffee. What if there was one weekend where it was like, okay, people that's part of the team, let's have a team meet.
Yeah.
We can discuss, this is a plan for our next meet. Talk about what went right, what went wrong in the previous meet, and what we can improve on as a staff.
Right.
I
mean, that'd be good too. I mean, the other thing is what I was thinking is like it does help the businesses. So like you've got the actual business ones, like you've got NR selling banners and decals, and you've got Jason selling banners and decals and shirts. Okay, so the ones that do that and want to run a business, you can also, if you do the pop-up thing, if you can get some merch from said person, then you can host the pop-up sponsored by No Limits and NR, and it also
Mm-hmm.
spreads out to the people that can't make it down that way because their car won't make it that far, or
Right.
they don't have the time to make that meet. And we as people can sell them out of the trunk of our cars and help out the actual business owners.
Yep. Yep.
And I'm not saying turning it into a business. I'm just saying that if somebody wants a decal, we've got them on us. We can do it. You know what I mean? Helping them out.
Yep.
But
And with
you know, the scene's gotten
Jason,
crazy. So
Yeah.
what were you saying?
Jason, with No Limits, his water bottles, right?
Yeah,
The past KB Octane meet,
yeah,
I was like, Jason, let me get a few for you. Let me post them.
Mm-hmm.
I can sell a few for him. I know his schedule is all over the place. Work,
well, yeah, his job, yeah,
his second job, No Limits
yeah,
itself.
Right.
yep,
Yep.
That man has a ridiculous schedule,
Yes, he
yeah, he
does.
needs some load taken off of him.
Mm-hmm.
and I've offered to him several times, like, yo, like, stickers, these water bottles he has out, the air fresheners. Hand me a few of them.
Yeah.
I know people I'm sure that would buy them.
Right.
But I don't know how he is on that whole aspect yet. Because
I
I
get that
want to be
because
able
I
to
mean
help him.
well, and that's money that he spent. That's his hard-earned money that he spent, and I
Yes.
get it because it's like he wants to make sure it gets sold and he makes his money back. I
Right.
get that 100%. You know, I get that 100%, but he has to be trustworthy of the person doing it. And I don't think he doesn't trust you. It's just he's careful. And I love Jason.
Yep.
Oh, I do
I
too.
think we all do, you know?
Yeah, we all love Jason. Like Jason's awesome. He's definitely grown the car community as a whole. 100%. We started many millennia ago,
Oh,
and
yes.
now look at it, like it's beautiful. Even though it got shut down, look at how packed that show was.
Yeah.
Look back at it, just vision it, like that was huge for
Mm-hmm.
him,
Mm-hmm.
and
Well, I
he
mean,
had everything go wrong. And I'm not saying it didn't necessarily all go wrong. You had a couple bad eggs. Even the police came and talked to us. Me and
Yeah.
Jason were standing there. The police were talking to us, and they were cool about it. The police loved what we do. They were excited. They wanted to come, check it out and everything. It's just, the venue was not acceptable of it. Now, we may be able to have, as Jason was saying, there may possibility be something in the future. Who knows? But right now, we don't have that venue anymore. And
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. And that's the thing. It's like, how do you how do you fix it?
yeah, I don't know if there really is a way because you're going to have bad eggs no matter where you go.
Right. No,
It's just how the world is nowadays. Like
yep.
you've got stuff happening outside of bars. You've got stuff happening in schools. You've got stuff happening all over the country.
Yep.
It's not something that's fixable. It's not just the car scene. It's everything.
It's everything. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't be safe when you leave your house anymore, and that's a sad thing to say. It
It
really
is.
is.
It is.
And people wonder why now you're able to conceal carry over the age of 21
Without a
is
permit.
because I think Ohio finally said, yeah, they should be able to because we need to be able to protect ourselves if something went south.
Yep. Yep.
indeed.
Mm-hmm. Wow. We've covered quite the topics tonight.
agree.
And everybody wonders why they call me the big picture guy. Well, on that bombshell, as the great Jeremy Clarkson would say, I think we're going to end on that because I think, as we've kind of established, right? What's kind of the solution to the problem? Make the car scene smaller, as weird as that sounds. I think the
Just
bigger
make the meat smaller.
right, and I think the bigger overall question and the one that maybe again needs some thought, maybe we, as representatives go back and say, "Hey, maybe we should do this." You know, how do we do it in such a way that I guess for us, what we'd consider old people now, right? How does that harken back to the days of old and yet still bring in the younger guys to the point where they want to say, "Oh hell yeah, let's do this." I think that's the bigger overall question. And I think that's what we're going to and I think that's what we're going to end on because I think that is the perfect way to end this show is to give everybody something to think about. So, for Kaleb Williams, Dalton Hughes, and Alisha Henson, this is Nick Burnow with a little food for thought. And we will see you next time here on the Ruthless ST Radio podcast. Have a good one.